No, Frank, no. Please don't. It's not what I want.
Hey, get in front of a bull for this piece of shit, too? Is that what you do now, hero?
He's not worth it, Frank.
Not worth it. How about him? He worth it? How about that, huh?
What is wrong with you? You can't help yourself, can you?
Goddamn hands off of me!
Goddamn liability every time. What
What
is wrong with you? Shut up!
Grenade. Huh?
Run!
We interrupt this program to bring you...
All right, everybody, my name is Kevin.
And I'm John.
And we are The Real Movie Guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Real Review, the series where we review and discuss all your favorite movies and TV shows. On today's episode, we're taking a look at the season finale of Daredevil Born Again, episode 9, Straight to Hell. Mayor Fisk becomes Mayor Kingpin, and Daredevil is unleashed as chaos takes over the city. John, it's been quite a journey with Daredevil Born Again. The season, I think, initially was met with this really great excitement with a fantastic first episode. Along the way, I'll say I think we made a few missteps here and there. There was definitely some pacing issues, some creative issues. But overall, I really did enjoy my time with the season as far. And I have to tell you, with this last episode, episode 9... fantastic finale, man. I think it definitely delivered all the action, all the setup, everything I wanted to see kind of culminate, and it made me honestly really excited for what was shown to us currently and for the future of the show. It was a fantastic finale, man. What'd you think?
No, yeah, 100% agree. I felt like after watching it, I was like, yeah, that's exactly what we wanted for a finale, and it gave hope to, like, even to the next season where you're like, all right, now I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, and I think it delivered a lot of things we wanted, I think, especially with as far as the character evolutions of Kingpin and Daredevil himself. I think we got to see the Kingpin truly see how much of a vile, despicable, and scary villain he's going to be in the coming seasons, I think, of this show. And to see Matt Murdock finally step up as Daredevil to be, the savior of the city, I think was a really nice touch, especially his little speech at the end. I thought was really well done. What did you think? Were there things that stood out to you this episode in particular with the finale?
Yeah, I enjoyed all the fighting and stuff. I felt like that was good. There's one thing that I didn't really enjoy.
Okay.
And the only thing that I didn't really like was, like, when he was when he was doing the thing to the cop, like squishing his head, I didn't understand that whole thing. I thought that was like, like kind of dumb, and a way like almost like a throwback to like what they do normally in some Marvel shows where they make it ridiculously.
See, I like that, man. I don't know. We're on two different pages here. So the scene John's talking about is Kingpin takes in the current police chief and is pretty much making a statement to all the other police officers and everyone around him that don't F with me anymore. The Kingpin's here. The Mayor Kingpin is here to take over the city, and no one's gonna mess with me or step out of line. And he takes the guy, the commissioner, and he crushes his head. He pushes his hand like into his skull, and then he like snaps his jaw around. Honestly, man, I gotta tell you, it was one of the most graphic, unsettling things I've ever seen. And the fact that it was done practically blows my mind. I have to give him points for that. You can't deny that, because that was actually a dummy that they used. He actually ripped apart.
Oh, was it? I thought it was CGI.
That was not CGI, and it was crazy looking at some of the behind the scenes. And when I first saw it, I'm like, there's got to be something on that. And sure enough, the internet delivers when you ask. And they showed the prosthetic head of the captain and him just like ripping his head apart. And I had Vincent D'Onofrio. They asked him like, okay, how do you see yourself like crushing this man's skull, or how do you see yourself doing it? And he actually tried to like show, I guess, the director on his actual head, like, oh, I would just snap his jaw and do that. It's really funny, because if you see Vincent D'Onofrio, he's such a nice guy in real life, and to see him be so vicious and like brutal is definitely like, it's very odd, I have to tell you. It's very polarizing, if you would, from the real person. But I thought that was a really great statement. You didn't feel that way? I thought it was like this really... Finally, we got a scene, I think, in my opinion, besides the axe scene earlier that we had with Vanessa's lover, where he was just like beating the crap out of him and everything like that. This finally showed me, as a viewer, I have to tell you, that the Kingpin's scary, man. He's a formidable monster, and... he's going to do whatever it takes. I think this scene actually cemented that for me.
Yeah, I didn't like the whole kill thing. I don't know.
Hey, you're open to your opinion. You're entitled to your wrong opinion, as I like to say. But no, I'm just kidding.
But
I can see what you're saying, though. It does. I guess you could say maybe it does seem like it kind of comes out of left field here and there, and it's. I guess maybe just because it is so over the top and unexpected. Do you think maybe that's what it was?
yeah, probably. I also think though, also like that compared to like just how awesome the Punisher was in this episode was like one of those things where you're kind of looking back and you're like, in the next season, I hope we get more Punisher.
Yeah.
But also, like, where has he been this whole time? You know, like, it's one of those things where, like, Punisher and Daredevil in a scene together is amazing.
Right.
And you're just like, all right, I want more of that too, you know?
No, for sure. It's a scene stealer. John Berthal has literally him and Charlie Cox have this perfect chemistry as Daredevil and the Punisher, and John Berthal especially I think just over delivers in this. Again, I've always complimented the action in this show when it's done, and I think this was probably one of the best. I think I would argue maybe the best action set piece they've had in the entire show. What happens in the scene is Daredevil is or Magus Matt Murdock is returning to his apartment, and you see John Berthal's there as the Punisher, like hanging out waiting for him to return. Like, I was looking for you, Red. Where you been? I'm here to protect you, to do a favor. And again, their chemistry back and forth. It's not the typical Marvel humor, right, John? Did you get that vibe where I feel like it was more natural? It wasn't super like there were quips, but it felt natural, right? Would you argue that it felt like it felt like two friends talking? Honestly.
No, yeah, 100%. And I feel like it's also interesting to see like how good they work together and how opposite they kind of are in a way.
Yeah, that was
where,
interesting,
like,
right?
Where Punisher's all about killing the people and kind of Daredevil's like still unsure in a way. And then you see it where it's like they almost get blown up because of Daredevil just trying to be too overprotective and just not caring too much.
Right.
And you can see like he's almost making that slow turn to like full on like Daredevil revenge,
Yeah, and besides, like, again, the great action set pieces of Punisher murdering people, and like you said, you have the juxtaposition of Daredevil just hitting people with his batons, knocking people out, and him even screaming a couple of times at Frank, like, what are you doing, right? Like, what are you doing? Why are you killing this guy? Again, that's the perfect kind of characterization between the two, where one's so opposed to killing and the other just is like, I really don't give a crap, especially the one scene towards the end where he has to make a choice at this point. They have one of the bad, dirty cops pinned up, and he could take his life. He killed White Tiger, and Daredevil's given the choice, like, I could murder this guy right now, and he says no, and Punisher's like, why aren't you doing it? Oh, fine, I'll do it. He pulls out his gun, and he's like, no, don't you kill him. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. And he's like, what do you mean it's not worth it? And he goes and just shoots some other random person in the head that's on the floor. And again, it's just crazy to see. And I do like this too, where the show they've kind of been coasting on this, where they really don't say what is right or wrong. I feel like typically in a lot of superhero shows, we're almost preached to some extent. Would you agree with that, John? Where they kind of tell you, like, this is the moral high ground, like, you shouldn't kill anybody. This show, I don't really think is saying that. Did you get that vibe? I think it's kind of saying it's up to you really to make the decision what you can live with and what you're going to do. The Punisher, more than capable of killing in the name of his cause and his pain. Daredevil just doesn't seem to be at that step. But again, I think both do perfectly seem justified, right?
Yeah, definitely, 100% agree.
Especially again, John Berthal just delivers when he goes on like a one-man mission to kind of take down all the dirty cops at the harbor, and he gets captured, and they have this amazing scene where they have him tied up sitting in a chair, and they're all the cops are taking a turn like beating the crap out of him, and they're like saying like, we admire you, man, like you're our hero, we have your symbol tattooed on our necks, and we have like your symbol on our shirts, we want you to join us, man. He's like, no, I never join, I'm not like you don't know my pain, like just screaming at them, and like this intense like raw emotion, and you do realize they're not the same thing. What they're doing is completely different. Like, yeah, what everyone's doing, and essentially, if you want to look at it from a moral perspective, I think is wrong. Everybody's killing someone, but someone is more right than the other, I guess you could say. And again, I think it really delivers that. And any other actor, and we've seen this before, Thomas Janes portrayed the Punisher, and I think he did a good job. I mean, it's corny for the time, but I still enjoy that movie, the other Punisher movie. We don't talk about Dolph Lundgren, that's not a thing. But John Berthold's performance, John, I think is gray enough and emotional enough to where he is just such a compelling character every time he's on screen. Not more than Daredevil, which is something that I could see people being scared of happening, but I think he's just equally as interesting, for sure.
Well, yeah, and I think what also helps out is that when you have Daredevil and Kingpin in episodes together, neither one is higher than the other.
Right.
So, like, it also makes, like, where Punisher and Daredevil are together, neither one of those two are higher up or better than the other or making the other one look bad. They work congruently very well, I feel like.
Right. And again, I think that's also added to the big thing I'll take away from this show, and I think was definitely displayed in the finale of this show. It's just the gritty realism in this show is unlike anything else we've had within the Marvel Universe. Sure, to some extent, maybe it's not overly spectacular compared to other dramas and things that you have. But again, I got to give them credit, man. The fact that Kingpin shuts off the electricity to the city to try and get to Bullseye, to try and find him, and not even that, to commit other crimes throughout the city, I think that was incredibly realistic. You could tell they were trying to echo some of like the those New York rolling blackouts that they used to have, that used to happen way back, what was that, the 70s or 60s or 70s, whenever that happened. And you could tell they were kind of emanating that with, they had like video footage of like people burning fires and people breaking into businesses and stealing things, and the cops, even the good cops, I think you could argue, were just shooting people because, you know, oh well, they were doing something bad. And the one guy, there's one scene in particular where a cop shoots a guy who's stealing a TV, and he's like, oh shit, it was like a kid. And the guy's like, you shot a kid? And he's like, nah. And he pulls his hat over his face and says, no, he was a vigilante, I'm justified in what I was doing. Some dark stuff, right? It really is some dark stuff, but I think you need this kind of dark show. You need this gritty, realistic show, and in order to offset kind of what's been happening and kind of hurting, I think, the Marvel Universe. Would you agree with that? Because everything we've been getting has been so jokey, ha ha ha, bright, colorful, you know, intergalactic battles. Having something this raw and this emotional and dark subject matter, maybe, I mean, I wouldn't say it's pushing anything too far, but again, I think it's just incredibly more interesting than anything else they're putting out right now.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like this is one of those things that we used to make fun of Marvel when Marvel was going against DC. We would always say DC is more like
right,
the rated R version, and Marvel's more like the PG version.
Mm-hmm.
And this is showing where Marvel can get rated R in a way, and show like great fight scenes, a lot of blood, a lot of gore, a lot of things that people are interested in seeing, and just telling a great story, which
right,
they're doing right now.
And that's the most important part, right? It's an impactful and compelling story overall. And that's what makes all these choices, makes Fisk ripping someone's head off and jaw apart, makes it, again, more compelling than it just happening for no reason whatsoever. Everything, it seems like, is calculated and told fantastically, and again, setting up the future where I do feel like maybe the ending was a little flat to some extent. Unfortunately, I really wish there was more. It felt like just a setup, right? I feel like the writers, I don't know. Again, we've spoken quite a bit about this on the channel here, where there's definitely been some drama as far as the organization of episodes and the rewriting. This episode, along with the last episode and the first episode, were part of some of the major reshoots that happened to this series. And you could tell, I feel like some of the writing that was done here was kind of course correcting and putting some of the chess pieces more into motion that maybe didn't align necessarily with the rest of the season, especially with some of the cop extras that we've seen. The one female cop that was only in that one episode, I believe. She was in the first episode, and then she was in the St. Patrick's Day episode. She was like in the big bar area hanging out with everybody, and you could tell like maybe she should have done more throughout the whole season for me to really like care about her. Matt Murdock's go-to guy, kind of getting the information, was showed up there. The end really just sets up like Daredevil assembling this army to battle now the Mayor Kingpin of the city. And with Karen back, it's nice to see like these writers have their characters that they know and love. You could tell they kind of got sidelined a lot throughout this show in favor of other characters. But again, John, do you think this was like course correction for them to set up what they want to do going forward? Because that's the vibe I got, at least.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%.
Like, I think they did a good job. It's not easy, you know, when you have a bunch of footage and you have to kind of make it work, and what they kind of did here, does it kind of limit some of the stuff I think they've done? to some extent. Again, I will say without a shadow of a doubt, I think Muse was definitely underutilized throughout the whole season. Again, it just felt very disjointed at parts with that. But again, a strong finale is very memorable, and this show really had that. And, you know, without gushing too much more into it, John, I think let's give our final scores on this one. I'm going to go ahead and give Daredevil Episode 9, Straight to Hell, a 9.7 out of 10. Really great episode, man. Really great episode. Strong finale, strong setup for season 2. We got lots of lingering pieces that we're really not sure where they're gonna go. Matt Murdock's kind of on the defense and going to have to go on the offense now with this new quote unquote army he's assembling to battle the Mayor Kingpin. And we still have characters like Bullseye wandering around doing God knows what, and I think that's very compelling and exciting for what's going to come in the future. All these characters, you know, I used to love the original Daredevil run when it was out on Netflix, and I think they really invigorated my love for those characters. Charlie Cox is Matt Murdock Daredevil, without a doubt. John Berthal is Frank Castle, Punisher, one of the best characters, whether or not he'll show up. I know he does have a special that's going to be spinning off of this before the next season of Daredevil that's coming out. It's like a one-shot that they're doing, so that should be really interesting, especially considering the state that he's left in at the end of the episode was very interesting. And that's a little thing for you guys. If you are watching this, make sure you stay for like the mid-credits. There is a scene there with the Punisher that you got to definitely see in order for to see what's going to happen next, which I think is very exciting. But yeah, I loved it, man. I think it's a really great show. Overall, I think I'd probably say maybe the season overall is probably like an 8.99 for me overall. This was a really strong season of TV, and I may be a little more forgiving because I know the hurdles that the writers had to go through, but they really pulled it off, man. I haven't been this interested in Marvel in quite some time, and you know, I'm excited for the future of this series. Whether other projects will align with this, who knows? We got Thunderbolts and a bunch of other stuff coming out, so we'll see what happens with those. Cross your fingers. Hopefully it's good, but yeah, whatever. All I can say is Daredevil, absolutely fantastic. John, how about you, man? What did you think on this one?
No, yeah, definitely. This was one of those great season finales that you're going to remember for a while, and that it's definitely one of those things where it's nice to see Marvel back in the doing something good. It's nice to see like they still have all this untapped potential that they can put out, and like to watch a show like this where it's been a while since a good show's come out for not only Marvel but for a lot of shows, and I feel like this was one of those good ones.
And what do you think? What's your score? You gotta give a score.
I give this one probably a 9. Definitely a 9. Maybe higher though, but like for the whole season, I feel like it was definitely 9 to high, almost 9 to 9.5, 9.7. Right. I feel like the whole season was really good.
Yeah, again, I do think it's a really strong season of television, and now that you have the opportunity to binge it, I think that might be even more enjoyable. Watching it week to week, I don't know if maybe that made some of the flaws stand out a little bit more to me, because I do think that is a thing sometimes when you watch a show on a weekly basis where you have to wait an entire week for the next episode. Sometimes the connectivity doesn't seem as strong, but when you watch something all at once, I'd be curious, you know, to hear what people have to say. And that's what I'm kind of asking for. Down in the comments below, what did you guys think of Daredevil episode 9? Did you enjoy it? Was it a strong finale? Did you hate it? You know, let me know. I'm really curious. I know people have been a little divisive over this show, but I think overall, I think most people did enjoy it. But if you didn't, I'd be very curious to know why. Give me your rating overall for the season. What did you think? What are you looking forward to? Do you think there's any credence to some of the rumors about certain characters maybe not being dead? You know, Foggy, I've heard rumors that he might not be dead. I don't know how you do that, but hey, it's comic book world, so anything can really happen, which is always exciting. But thank you all so much for joining us for this episode of The Real Review. My name's Kevin. That guy's John. We are your Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. We'll see you in the next one.
If you guys like what you've seen here today, consider giving this video a like and leaving your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to stay up to date with everything Real Movie Guys related, make sure to hit that subscribe button and check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And don't forget, all you audio listeners at home, we are available on many podcasting platforms. Just search The Real Movie Guys, you should pop right up. Thank you again all so much for joining us on this episode of The Real Review. We are The Real Movie Guys. Real guys, real movies, real thoughts. Catch you next time.